Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to UW-Madison online, of course. Lisa and I are really excited to be here. We'll be talking about two different programs, both housed within the Department of Educational Psychology at UW-Madison. While we're doing some introductions, please feel free to let us know where you're calling in from. It's always nice to see some friendly names and faces within Wisconsin and then across the nation as well. So, today we'll be covering quite a few different things. Our hope is that we'll answer the majority of your questions. If we don't, this is informal. Feel free to jump into the chat or raise your hand on Zoom, and we'll be happy to chat with you. I know we've also blocked off a little bit of time after we conclude the webinar to answer some questions if you have any. And hopefully you'll have a better sense of who we are, who we're not, and how to follow up with us if you indeed choose to do so by the end of it. So, some introductions on our part. My name is Julia Rutledge. I am the director for the MS in Learning Analytics program at UW-Madison. And I hope that you notice at the bottom of this slide the word advocate. And Lisa and I both, we are advocates for our students all the time throughout the program as their graduate student advisors. We're also advocates for them as alumni, writing letters of recommendation, making introductions. And lastly, we're also advocates for prospective students as they're thinking about applying to the program. We are here to help you determine if this is a good fit for you and your goals, and we'll help you through the application process as well if you do indeed decide it is a good fit. So with that, I'll hand it over to Lisa to say hello.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Lisa Hebgen. As Julia said, I am the director of the Professional Educators Program. And you'll hear me a number of times say MISB. So that's the Master of Science for Professional Educators. So that's what MISB is standing for. So as you can see on this slide here, we're number one. So not only are we the number one department of educational psychology in the country, but we are also the number one school of education. And so you can see here that it says for US News and World Report that it goes through 2025. We are number one again through 2026. So, we don't necessarily like to brag, but honestly, we do. So we're glad you're here and we want you to be part of that number one tradition. So with both programs, why we wanted to get together is to talk to you about what are some of the things that we have in common and what are some of the things that sets us apart from each other. So even though we're in the same department, we are very different. And our job tonight is to help you find the best fit. Julia and I are not in competition. We want to make sure that you find the program that works best for you. So what should you know about both programs? Logistics. You can see here we're 100% online. We do have some synchronous times and asynchronous times, part-time, and we're flexible as well. You will qualify for financial aid. 30 credits in 2 years, and we follow that cohort model. You're typically seeing anywhere between 20 and 30 students in our cohort. So what does our course design look like? You can see on there that we are using authentic activities. You are a working professional. And so what we want to make sure you're doing is something that's really relevant to the work you have going on. So you're not just going to read, discuss, and then give us 2 peer reviews. That's not what we're about. We're all about what's going to work for you, collaboration, weekly practice, a lot of reflection, and there are projects as well. So we look very similar with our logistics and our course design.
Wonderful. I'll take you through a deeper dive into the Learning Analytics program. So first and foremost, as you're considering this field of learning analytics, a lot of people have not even heard of it before. So you're most likely here if you're interested in both education and data. We created this graphic to kind of display what this field can do and the breadth that it can cover. So first and foremost, learning analysts, they harness data to power educational outcomes. And so they have to be experts, not only in analysis, but also learning and human-centered design. They use things like statistics and machine learning, but also qualitative analysis. So our program is really balanced well between quantitative and qualitative. We think it's really important to consider students not only as numbers, but as whole people. And qualitative data tends to bring out that human side. So we have a big emphasis on that within our curriculum. Learning analysts analyze a variety of data types, including text, video, tests, so on and so forth. And they have to communicate these analyses as actionable insights to a variety of stakeholders, which we have our students practice. And in terms of the roles that they can hold, it's pretty varied. You can see they can serve as instructional designers, researchers, K through 12 district analysts, and within organizations such as K through 12 districts, higher ed, departments of ed, ed tech, and also corporate learning teams. We have quite a few people who are in HR within our program as well. And so for K through 12 teachers who are interested, happy to share more details about their pathways, either staying within their school or going beyond their school after completing this program. So our program has 8 courses, one of which is optional. It's the fundamental stats course, but really in the first year, we are focusing on fundamentals. We are providing you with data sets. We are giving you a lot of support. I don't know about you, but when I started graduate school, I hadn't taken a math class since high school, and statistics was very overwhelming for me. That will not be the case in our program. We are there to buoy you up and build your confidence regardless of where you're coming in from. So in year one, it's all about those fundamental skills in terms of theory and methods. And then year two is all about getting your hands dirty with application. And in year two, we recommend, hey, if you have access to data at your own school, and if you want to let your work enrich our curriculum, let our curriculum enrich your work, bring in your own data, use your own stuff. We'll work with you to make sure that that happens. We also have, as Lisa had mentioned, both programs have a capstone. Ours is considered a consulting project where student teams will get together, work with an external organization, usually someone's employer like a district or a school, and perform everything from a needs assessment to analysis to communication, so on and so forth. Creating a product though that is viable and tangible and authentic and helpful for the clients that they're working with. And so bringing in those authentic experiences throughout, as this is a professional degree, is really important to ensure that you're ready for the job market and you've got the hard and the soft skills needed to be able to leverage the program to where you want to go. Another thing that we do to help enable students go confidently into their career search is we have them build out online portfolios. This is an example of Kate. This is her hard and soft skills page. The next slide will show Craig, and he is also a teacher, and his is all about not only who he is, but the types of projects that he's been able to do. It's a really nice way to showcase the breadth and depth of the work that you do in the program. Again, it's hard to talk about a master's program as one line on your resume. These kinds of tools will help bring in the dialogue and the conversation in the job search conversations. And on to Lisa.
All right, we're going to talk about professional educators. So, as I said before, we're fully online. You can see what our tuition is set at. We have anywhere between 20 and 25 students this year. For whatever reason, we have 32. But what we really like to talk about is that our topics, similar to learning analytics, are really related to the areas that you want to strengthen within your educational practice. So we integrate from 3 different departments within the School of Education. So not only will you get your degree in educational psychology, but you're going to take courses in curriculum instruction as well as educational leadership and policy analysis, which we refer to as ELPA. So this gives you an option to be able to work with all different sorts of people within, remember, that #1 school of education. And it really gives you a well-rounded education experience. So I like to real quickly talk about each of our courses, and this is going to be a real fast overview. We start in the summer with collaborative teamwork for inclusive school reform. The thing that I like to tell folks is that there is a synchronous portion of this class. So for the 8 weeks that you're together, you'll get together once a week for 5 weeks, and that will be online. And this is an opportunity for you to get to know your cohort. And so we purposely put that right in the front. Engaging with education research. This this as an opportunity to dive into that topic that you are most interested in. So maybe you've always wanted to know, what is the best social emotional learning tool for kindergarten students? You get to dive in and find out all about that and do a literature review and learn from other researchers in the work that they're doing. Thinking and learning, you probably saw this on Learning Analytics. Julia used to be the instructor for this course. It is the exact same course. It's so good, we said we need to have this course in our program. And so this is about the 8 different theories. There's more, but we focus on 8 different theories of cognition. So it's really about how does that brain work and how are we learning and how are we thinking and how are we as instructors being able to match that and be able to use that in order to do our instruction. And then we have foundations of instructional coaching. We use 3 gurus that we pull from to really help build our reflective practices. So we use Jim Knight, who talks about powerful questions. We use Diane Sweeney, who talks about using student evidence to inform our instruction. And then Elena Aguilar, who says we can't do any of this work unless people trust us. And so that is one of the most important things is to build those relationships, to have these really crucial conversations. And then in the spring, and for those of you who might have looked on the website and you're like, oh, right now I see another course there. We are looking to update the curriculum because we listen to our graduates. And we have one course, which is assessment analysis and instructional decision making. So this is all about using data in order to inform our work. And not only to use that data, but more importantly, to talk about it with others. That's why it's part of the instructional coaching program. That's the first year. So take a deep breath, and then we come back the second year. We have Understanding Legal Rights and Responsibilities. And this is a course where all of our educators say, oh, I don't want to become a principal. I don't need this. They take the course, they love it. Suzanne Eckes is probably one of the best instructors that we have in the program, and everyone says, I should have had this as a beginning educator. Supporting students' social emotional learning, we are really learning about the different tools available to us so we can be available and ready for our students, not just their academic needs, but their emotional and social needs, as well as our colleagues and our own, taking care of ourselves to take care of others. We have our capstone, and this is where you're diving in, similar to what Julia said, into a project that is meaningful to you. So maybe you've always wanted to start a new mentoring program or an instructional coaching program, or maybe you're thinking like, I want to go on and get my PhD. I want to do some research. This is that opportunity to do so. And then in the spring, you have the practicum for instructional coaching, and you will do that at your own site. And we use a lot of video, and you work with a trusted colleague. So that is the program in a nutshell. And so, what else is in that program? You heard me say you also get that embedded instructional coaching certificate. We are one of the first schools in the country to have built an instructional coaching certificate. In fact, the other ones that you see are actually modeled after us. Diane Sweeney and I worked together to create the instructional coaching certificate that she now offers as a separate course on her website. She only has one course. We've got 3. So we're adding to your repertoire of becoming that reflective practitioner.
As we were putting these slides together, we were trying to think of the questions that someone might answer. Going to graduate school is a big decision, of course. An online program has a lot of flexibility to allow you to continue in your current job. But we also wanted to show how our online students are also Badgers and how we're able to support you as a Badger at UW-Madison. Our students are coming to us because of the high quality education we have that we can provide with our instructional team, including our faculty, our instructors, our fabulous TAs, incredible TAs, I love them, and how our coursework can help with your career advancement. We also have a cohort model in both programs, which I think is really important because as an online learning environment, learning can feel a little bit isolated when you're by yourself in front of your computer. We know that. And so we've structured socialization in within the cohort so that you are required to be routinely interacting with your colleagues in the cohort and really learning from them and how they're applying the information. And that co-creation of knowledge in those collaborative meetings is incredibly helpful, not only in building relationships with each other, but also with the material from a variety of different perspectives. Flexible online learning, again, we've talked about our instructors and meeting with students. There's a little bit more touch points, I believe, in MISP, a few less required touch points in learning analytics. All of our materials are available online asynchronously, and it's up to you on how much and how you want to interact with your group mates and your cohort as well. But so much support for learners. Within each of our program, we have different support networks, and then UW-Madison as a whole has some incredible resources. The Writing Center, the Career Center, there's all these fabulous opportunities to engage with UW-Madison as a greater whole, even though you are online. Our alumni, we thought about this too, about how we could express to you what you can do with our programs. And interestingly, we have a lot of overlap in terms of where our students can end up. So again, community colleges, state government, private corp, ed tech, nonprofits, K through 12. With learning analytics, you'll see a lot of titles in there that have words like data and analyst incorporated into it. What's interesting slash frustrating is in the learning analytics job search, I always let people know it's still a relatively nascent field and no one has agreed upon titles. So when I say look for, a job search in learning analytics, also include things like educational data science and student record specialist. And there's so many ways to go about it. So I help my students with that. Our Career Center also helps students with that. But the variety of job titles is pretty broad, and there's a niche for just about everybody there. I'll let Lisa jump in and talk about her professional educator, her Miss B alumni as well.
Sure. So if you take a peek at that right side of the different job titles that folks get as they leave the program, or even who's interested, is that, we have people who are educators, obviously teachers, K-12, that might be public or private. We have people going into post-secondary education in jobs like Julia and myself. I'm a former high school teacher. And so you'll see folks who are coming in these types of positions, curriculum development. What we are seeing is about 2 years after folks graduate is that they do become instructional coaches. And so that is something that they find that they're not sure maybe if that's what they want to do when they come in, but they do know for sure they want to do something with coaching or professional development. So you'll see them going in to these different types of careers. And we are also seeing more students going for their PhD, which I'm really excited about.
Really, I think what makes learning analytics distinct in its program and distinct, frankly, also from more general data analytics programs that you can get across the country and a lot of business schools is while the methodologies are agnostic, you're going to be learning the same kinds of methods. We are really focusing on thinking about the numbers as a person. So there's a balance between quantitative and qualitative methods in our program. You'll be constantly working with data analysis with a variety of tools to build a lot of hard skills and with a variety of data sets as well to think about different populations. You'll be engaging with different software every semester. Our goal is to give you breadth and fluency in a bunch of tools so that when you go to that next job interview and they ask, are you experienced in R or Tableau? You can say yes. We also have a huge focus on equity. It is not just a mission statement, but we're training our analysts to think about the data in the most ethical and equitable ways that they can, which includes being able to talk with stakeholders and wrangle stakeholders in an ethical way to get them on the path towards asking the really important questions to help overcome things like achievement gap. And last but not least, data storytelling. What is the point if you become this fabulous analyst, but you don't know how to talk about it? We want our analysts to make an impact and a difference, and you need to be able to communicate that to be able to do so. And so we have a big emphasis on communication, whether it's through data visualizations, PowerPoints, one pagers, elevator pitches yourself. So really bringing that forward, especially in one course, but throughout the program as well. A lot of diversity in terms of the professional options that are available. There's a lot of doors open to you once you are able to wrangle data and you know what you're talking about. Um, and then, wow, it's $1,000 a credit. I don't know why we put that information on this slide. It doesn't really make sense now that I look at it, but that is also how we are different. And I'll leave it to Lisa to talk about hers and how we're similar.
Yeah, and I think, you probably got it a lot from the breakdown of the courses, but what our themes are is focusing in on that social emotional learning as well as professional development, being a reflective practitioner, not only working with others to help them, but also learning how to ask yourself those really powerful questions. We too value that equity, diversity, and inclusion. How are we talking about it? How are we thinking about that? And that we are really centered on the people that we work with. And that includes ourselves, whether that be the students that we're working with, the people that we have, because we're not all in school settings, or maybe teachers. So whomever that we're working with, that they are at our center. And again, you can see where folks are getting those positions. We're a little cheaper. So, but as you can see, you're probably finding what side of the Venn diagram, hopefully you are landing on. But we all follow the same application checklist. So this is also on both of our websites. Under the admissions tab, you can scroll down and we even tell you exactly what you can put in your statement of purpose. And so it's less than 2 pages. Why are you interested in the program? What qualifications? And how do you hope to leverage what you learn? And really, what do you want to be able to do with this particular degree? You'll have your resume, or some of you may have a CV. Your unofficial transcripts, unless you're a graduate of UW-Madison, you do not need to submit your unofficial transcripts. We have them, but everyone else, you're unofficial. And then thinking about your references. With the references, if you have 2 letters, that's great. You can upload those, but in the system, you can actually put their email address and they can upload them. And you can submit your application actually without those things in there, and we can be looking at the materials while we're waiting for your references. So that's something that usually takes the longest. I encourage people to just keep working at it. We want to support you so we can chat. You can book a phone call with Julia or I. And if you have that phone call and we say, yes, this sounds like you're a great fit, there's a $75 application fee, and you would just let us know that that is a code that you want. What I always tell folks, and Julia, you let me know if this is how you do it as well, is for the MISPE program, is that when you're ready to hit the submit button and we've reviewed your materials, that's when you send me an email and I will give you the code. They expire, so I always like to do it at the very last minute.
That is exactly how I do it as well.
Fabulous. The other thing that's new is this power hour. So you can, or maybe power 30, I don't know, whatever it is, power 10. So you can meet with Julia or myself, and we will help you with writing and getting and completing your application. So take advantage of that. All you need to do is send us an email or give us a call. So what you'll see here is that process. Now, something that looks a little deceiving is this due by May 1st, is that we accept on a rolling admissions. And so I know for my program last year, we were actually at capacity around March. And so it's really a first come, first serve. So it's always better to get your application in early. And what I like to tell folks is by January 1, and that's creeping up on us. And so I know I have about 10 accepted folks already. So it's really important to get that process started if you're really interested in it. The other pieces that you can see here is the process it will go through is they'll go through the admissions committee, it's sent on to the graduate school, and all of this information will be shared with you through the process by email. We stay in contact with you, and what I always like to tell folks is that you are stuck with us from the very beginning to the very end. And so we're hoping, by having that same point of contact with a big university is that you do feel like you're part of something and that you're always supported. Julia, anything you want to add there before we tell folks how to contact us?
No, not at all. I just, um, well, I guess then yes, I do hope that you do reach out to us. Our goal, Lisa and I, is to meet with every prospective applicant before they hit submit because we want to make sure that you feel really confident knowing that this program would be a good fit for your goals. So please do get in touch with us. She and I are meeting with prospective students constantly. This is a big part of our jobs and what we love about what we do. So if you have any questions or you just want to chat a little bit more, this is something that we reach out for and absolutely welcome. So please do shoot us an email. Both of our websites have a ton of information on them that sometimes can feel a little overwhelming. So we're happy to walk you through that as well.